Hey everyone, it's Ivan, kitbadger.com, out here for another gear review, and today, talking optics. This guy right here, which is the Nightforce ATACR 1-8. So, big picture, what is it? It is a low power variable. So, going from the bottom end, 1x, and then cranking it all the way up, if we want to 8x. And yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff built into it, and I think overall, really well executed, especially with respect to reticle and usability of that reticle. Real quick, with respect to reticles, and as I mentioned, this does a good job, that's kind of rare. So this being first focal plane, meaning that as we go through that magnification range, the reticle actually changes. So at 1x, it's fairly small, and as we zoom in, it gets bigger, but it stays true through that entire range. So if you're looking and something is 3 mils at 1x, at 3x, still 3 mils, at 8x, also still 3 mils. Holds true. Versus a second focal plane where you go through that entire range of motion, through that entire magnification range, and the reticle just stays the same. So usually, if there's some sort of markings in there, whether they're mil or just BDC, it's usually only good, usually at the max magnification. So if it's a 1-8, you'd crank it to 8, then you could actually use that reticle. This, you can use it anywhere in the spectrum. I will say, first focal plane reticles are difficult because you're trying to make something usable up close at 1x, but then when you get to 8x, you also want it usable. And I think they did a good job with this one, largely in part because of their illumination, daylight bright. So when this thing is on 1x and you turn the illumination on, you bring it up, bam. It's basically a red dot. Like you have a fireball inside there, and it goes, yeah, to 10. On 10, it is really bright. Definitely usable. Real quick, go over a couple of the features on this ATACR 1-8. First of all, 34mm tube, which is amazing, allows tons of light to come through, has ED glass in here, incredibly clear, even in like low light. And in addition to that, back here, you can actually move between your different magnifications, moves nice and smooth. It's not sticky, anything like that. And at the same time, there's enough tension to where when you move it, it's probably not going to get bumped. And it comes with this. You can put it on or take it off, depending. Nice little throw lever, not obnoxiously large. Back here, you of course can adjust this to your eye. And as far as adjusting this actually goes, this ring right here loosens so that you can adjust that. And then this ring will tighten back to it once you get it to proper set for your eye. And then up front, you have your cap as well. And over here on the right side, this is our windage. So we can unscrew this, and 0.1 mil adjustments. Really nice, distinct clicks, and you can float it. Basically remove those screws. And same thing up top. Again, low profile turrets, and they're not exposed because idea being you are not needing to actually dial. If you wanted to, you could of course leave this off, but the way it works, really well thought out reticle, so you can do all of your holds inside the reticle. Then over on this side, we have our adjustment for our different settings. And so in between each of these settings, there's actually an off. So you'll go basically from off immediately to whatever you're setting that you kind of wanted. So rather than having to scroll through every single setting to get to what you wanted, you have an off in between each one. And down in the bottom, you actually have 2 night vision settings, which more on that in a minute. Next, we'll go into, I guess, how I've used this. So I've ran this on a couple different host guns, this being one of them, 16-inch Sons of Liberty Gunworks, and I also shot it on my Knights Armament SR25, and kind of did my best to use it outside of the most ideal situations. So what do I mean by that? Well, the nicest place to use this, honestly, is at 8x at distance, which I most certainly did. Stretch this thing out past 500-600 yards, does amazing, especially once you get your dope. As far as your speeds, using a magneto speed, plug that stuff in, figure out exactly what my holds are, and that reticle, really easy to use. Get in there, break those shots. Awesome. But where is it kind of difficult to use a low power variable? Well, arguably up close and most certainly at night. So I actually had this mounted in a Unity mount, one of their fast mounts, mounted up high, and on that SR25, shot it in a AMTAC 3-day night vision course. It was challenging. On the one hand, the gun was a pig, it was heavy, doing up drills up close, and then ultimately ended up transitioning and shooting at night. Passive some. While I did have a MAL on there, I also shot passive. And sample size of 1, I definitely found it wanting. In fairness to this optic, low power variables and night vision just don't really mix. Sorry. The way they work the best is if you have dual tubes, because you can throw this thing up, get behind it with one of your tubes, and your brain's pretty good at overlaying images. So you'll have a dot somewhere in there, and then you'll have kind of the rest of the picture through your unobscured tube, and you can make shots. Is it easy? No. Sample size of 1, not really. And yeah, definitely challenging, especially versus having like an offset red dot, which I ended up doing some and honestly is way easier. Again, not a knock on the ATACR 1-8. It's nice, clean glass, but you're still looking through numerous lenses, and yeah, low power variables and night vision, not a good mix. Something you can do, however, is basically adjust the ocular on your scope. So it's probably not going to be set to your eye. You can put some index marks if you want, but you can adjust that and kind of refine the dot in there, which is better than, of course, you're making adjustments potentially on the fly. So I don't know if it's the best solution, but it is a potential solution. For my own part, it was either that or trying adjusting my nod that I was looking through for my shooting or aiming eye rather, and not super practical. You basically adjust it all the way down to where the field or your focus is as close as it can possibly be, and you get what you get. Still not a very good solution, because then when you come off the gun, yeah, your focus is messed up in that eye.
1, 2, 3.
So where does this shine? Well, not at night. But I will say the glass does an amazing job of gathering light. If you're going to be shooting during dawn or dusk for that matter, it does a really good job. Where this does an amazing job for me, at distance. Really clean glass going up to 8x, target ID, discriminate targets, and just a usable reticle. All those holds in there, once you have your data on your gun and your ammo, you can crank this thing up and yeah, shoot it however far your gun, ammo, and you as a shooter are capable of shooting. Makes it really easy. And if you're gonna shoot up close, you can most certainly do that. Crank that thing to 1, turn this up, your illumination, and now you have a red dot. Is it as fast as a red dot? I don't know. Probably depends on you. I will say not quite as forgiving in that you have to get more or less behind it because you're looking through a longer tube versus like a short little tube. So you end up with shadows, stuff like that. Definitely have to get more behind it, but it is most certainly quick. Quick note with respect to optic mounts. So if you're going to do a lot of heads-up shooting and occasionally shoot at distance, higher mount, like a Unity fast mount. If you actually are going to shoot this thing and stretch it out mainly, I would definitely recommend like a lower mount, like the ScalarWorks right here, so that you can actually get a good cheek weld, and it is way more comfortable to shoot at distance. Sample size of 1. Overall, I've been pretty stoked on this. It's pretty cool. About 10 inches, 21 ounces, and yeah, a lot of capability. Going from 1x with illumination all the way up to 8x, really clean glass, and the ability to use that reticle at all those different distances and get hits at distance because it's a good usable reticle, especially on 8x. Like, whole tree coming down, wind holds, all of that stuff. Thing's really solid. And as far as price-wise, not cheap. You can get it through Euro Optic, about 2,800 bucks. You're like, $2,800. Honestly, it's probably the best price you're gonna find on it. And there's a reason it costs that much. In part, one, made in the USA. And in addition to that, Nightforce supplies a lot of military units with optics. So their stuff has to be really really durable and rugged. And with that, not only durable and rugged, but things 21 ounces, which is fairly light for what you're getting. So yeah, 2,800 bucks. Get it through Euro Optic, and I want to say it's like their red shipping, whatever. Basically 1-day shipping, which is pretty cool because when you get something new and shiny, you usually want to have it in hand immediately so you can go use it. Overall, been really stoked. Pretty amazing optic. Last but not least, if you appreciate my content and want to support it, greatly appreciate it. One of the ways is supporting me directly through Patreon. Helps me go out, create more content for you. Little as $1 a month gets you early access to videos, exclusive content, and access to Discord. If you have questions for me, happy to answer them over there. But as always, thanks for joining us at kitbadger.com. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Well, I need to tap it. That's why. You want to try my whatever and see if that works?
Look over here. Good shot. Last shot of the day.
Because if it works for you, I'll trade you. I don't care.